Paul, Catalina, and Royden Ogletree. All right, let's get the Colorado out of your system first.
I will tell you this, but you've probably already seen this. Just real quick before we get to that, what do we think about Kevin Jennings just supplanting?
I'm not
Stone
after the first 2 weeks. I'm not surprised. Preston Stone has just not played well. He's just not played. And
he's like the biggest recruit in SMU history, right?
Well,
besides in the 80s, but
yeah, he's definitely up there. But like when you watch him the first 2 games, he has no pocket like awareness whatsoever. He's constantly like a statue back there and getting hit. And he missed most of last season or all of last season with that injury. And I don't know if maybe you're still in your head and you just need to get hit a few more times to kind of come out of that.
Yeah.
But if you don't get adjusted now by losing your job, I don't know if you're going to get it back. But if you like last week, I watched them play BYU and they started out with Preston Stone out there, and literally every time they dropped back, Kalani Sitake like went all in on blitzing and lit him up. And as soon as they pulled him, they kind of changed their offense a little bit. But yeah, he's got some issues.
Well, yeah, he was able to. The backup was able to run. I watched a little bit of that game. He was able to run around a little bit, but it's just
it's
tough sledding for what was a 4-star, nearly 5-star quarterback.
Kevin Jennings didn't win the job.
out
of camp. So like. Then sometimes that's not necessarily indicative of who's the better quarterback. Sometimes you go with the guy who is the starter because they don't lose the job, based on injury, blah, 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 blah. But I'm a little surprised that they've kind of come to this.
Or you usually see it the opposite direction where you put the mobile guy out there first to try to help up with some of the deficiencies and kind of go from there. But they're doing it's crazy.
Yeah, it's strange.
SMU Twitter is not happy. That's all I'm saying. It just popped up on my timeline.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're not. Had to get out, had to come back and beat Nevada, and then they went out and lost to BYU. So the Mountain Time Zone not been good. I mean, granted that
for a number of reasons.
Yeah, for them. But Royden, your thoughts on Colorado?
Fake chains, fake diamonds. Like, what are we talking about? Cubic zirconium.
That's what they are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like they should be a great football team. And then you look at the net worth, and or the cost of the product. And it's about half of that.
Yeah.
They're like half a good football team or 1/3 of a good football team.
Yeah.
Their quarterback's really good. Travis Hunter is going to play football for a very, very long time in the NFL.
That's about it.
That is about it.
That's about it.
They can't block. That game could have been 45-0. And then it almost felt like they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit.
I think if Nebraska is a more veteran team, then it is 45-0. They're kind of lucky Nebraska is new at this. If the teams that aren't on their schedule, and let's take a look at their schedule.
I mean, hell, if Raiola had another year under his belt.
Yeah,
right. And he was efficient. He 23 of 30, 185 yards, but it's not like they weren't like taking a bunch of chances with him, throwing it down the field. They wanted to run the ball. They had 35 carries, but it's just, pick 6 out of your own end zone for Sanders.
Okay.
And then he's like blaming the offensive line after the game. Fake team, fake football team.
Okay. Here are the teams on their schedule that just right now, based on the way that they run the ball, and what their philosophy is, that I could not pick Colorado in these games no matter where they were. If they were in Deion Sanders' actual living room, I would not pick Colorado to win these games. At UCF, Kansas State, Arizona, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State. All those teams run the ball really well. Really, really well. UCF has 3 guys who run the ball at you. Arizona, I don't think they can
that was the one I was kind of hesitant on.
Yeah, but they still have a really good quarterback and
one of the best wide receivers.
One of the best wide receivers in the country, and maybe the best overall in the Big 12. In Teteroa McMillan. So they're going to have to cover that guy. And we don't nobody's really have to make them cover people yet, but
I mean, that's one where I think you're going to see Travis Hunter on him.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Yeah. No, he's got to shadow him.
I don't think Baylor's very good. And in fact, if you go on my timeline, I was having a crisis of confidence on Saturday. Also calling them sort of a fake football team. But the pressure that they were able to get in that football game makes me think that it might not be so bad against Colorado in Colorado if they're able to do that. Like, I kind of think that Dave Aranda, after they held him to 23 points for different reasons because Cam Rising went out, I was just kind of like, is this going to be like that close of a game?
To Baylor's defense's credit, one of those drives was about 4 yards because of a strip sack and a fumble.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, not to make this a Baylor thing, it was a Colorado bit. I just think that they can't get any pressure on any quarterback. You've built yourself into this whole why the Travis Hunter thing is a really cool story. He's going to play 110 snaps and whatever. That's not great, to be completely honest with you, when he's also your best defensive back.
Let me ask you this. When you have players like Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter and heck, Will Shepard and LeJontay Wester and Jimmy Horn, thank you. Jimmy Horn, like, what does it do if you can't do anything about it? If it doesn't lead to wins? And I'll tell you, RJ Harvey, you know who I think is going to have a great game against Colorado is Dawson Pendergrass. If I was Jake Spavital, I'd just go to Dawson Pendergrass and
give it to the guys Richardson that run angry
and be like, hey, this is going to be your day. And then, when their tongues are hanging out of their mouth, go, all right, Richard Reese, zip. And Daquan Finn, zip and go. And your goal, if you're Baylor next week against Colorado, should be to throw 25 passes or less. 25 passes or less. UCF will absolutely throw 20 passes total against Colorado at home. They will give the ball to RJ Harvey and Penny Boone and just go, go, go. Kansas State, Avery Johnson needs to work at his passing, but not that day because that was just going to be
Dylan Edwards.
Dylan Edwards is going to go feast. And not to mention DJ Giddens is awesome. He is awesome. Catching the ball out of the backfield too, which I don't think people give him enough credit for.
Look, there's games on the schedule that now look like they're winnable. I mean, Arizona didn't have a good weekend last weekend, but there's a scenario where Fafita just runs all over and they can't pressure the quarterback and they can't cover in the back end and he just throws for 300 yards or whatever. But Cincinnati, Texas Tech, but that might be it again for them. If they don't win that Baylor game and Colorado State's going to be another one to watch out. I don't know how good Colorado State is, but they'll be up for that game in
Fort Collins.
Fort Collins, thank you.
It's in Fort Collins.
Yeah, it is. So they'll be up for that game. But it can get ugly quick.
Okay, here's the other thing. The way that it looks to me right now, Colorado is going to be struggling to get to 5. But if they get to 5, it's going to have to be before the last 3 because the last 3 are Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Okay, so let's just say they're 5 and 6 heading into that last week. And the thing that you can't do is stop the run. And who do you have to play?
Ollie Gordon.
It only could get worse, in my opinion, if it was Ashton Genty. And it's not that much where that's what would you rather die of? 2 bullet wounds or 3 bullet wounds? What?
Depends on where they're located.
Yeah.
I don't know. No TCU win has done more PR for a football team since 2014 down here on MLK.
Yeah.
That TCU win, which was kind of a fluke because TCU lost all of their players, set them up for an expectation that, and maybe they set themselves up too because of all the talk. It set them up for an expectation of this is what we're going to be. We're going to be ranked teams. It's a new day for Colorado football. We got probably the number one player in the draft, and my son, he's going to go number 1. You can't play the fight song over the loudspeakers. You're just going to play his song. I don't know how much of that rumor is true, but I like to believe I'd like to believe it's true. It's not true. I don't want to get sued over that. But the idea that we can do all this, but then not build up the offensive line through recruiting, not get those guys in there that are going to protect said blue chip players. And then, like, not for nothing, Shedeur Sanders threw his offensive line under the bus this weekend. Bad look, dude.
Mhm.
It's tough. It's a tough look. It's like, how much was Raiola touched? And it's like, I don't know. He's also a freshman quarterback going out there and slinging the ball around to the tune of like an 85% completion percentage.
Yeah.
He's making plays. I still think Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback. I still think Travis Hunter is going to be like a top 5 pick, whether it is to play both ways or just to play wide receiver, because he's an excellent wide receiver. Horn, awesome wide receiver. The rest, it does not matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. How many USC teams have we seen? Caleb Williams went through this last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
They couldn't block and they couldn't defend. And it's him running around in the backfield, and they only won 7 games.
Yeah.
I don't think they're even half as talented as that USC team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because
And-
Kalen Bullock was in the backfield making plays, and he's back there getting interceptions for the Texans this past weekend for that was at USC. There ain't anybody on the defensive side of the ball that I'm just scared of.
Yeah.
Besides Hunter, and he's playing 110 snaps a game.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And look, to wrap it up on USC, I think they're contenders in the Big Ten now. I mean, if that defense is legit as it looks,
Right.
I think they're contenders. And
Who did they get in as their defensive coordinator? That's
Danton Lynn, who was at UCLA.
Yeah.
And is a UCLA alum. And, chase that money. But also he's also chasing he's probably going to be a head coach in 2 years, because
if you can make USC's defense viable, then
it's not like just viable. It was dominant at times. It's been
good.
dominant at times.
Yeah.
And you would not use the word dominant to describe the defenses that have been at USC under Lincoln Riley.
I think porous was probably the
Yes.
apt phrase.
Wet Kleenex.
Yeah.
So
I think
decorative wrapping paper.
decorative. Yeah.
Very decorative paper.
Also just think that proves how good like Nussmeier actually is, because he looked really good in that game. But the Miller Moss also is the poster child for, hey, stick around in a system for a minute
Yeah.
and you might look great.
Well, that's how it used to be in college football. And I get
Not
now,
to be old man that yells at cloud.
No, but but now, look, there are certain people who, if you're blocked, go. Like if you're, especially if you're a quarterback and you're a true freshman, the guy in front of you is a redshirt freshman, and that guy's Bryce Young or something, you probably have to go.
Right.
Like you're not going to play for 3 years. You may need to go find your other spot. Ohio State's going to have this exact problem next season with Aaron Noland and Julian Sand and whoever they bring in this class. Like they're going to have that issue.
Mhm.
Either Julian Sand or Aaron Noland is not going to be on the team in a year. Like they're going to go because they've got to go. They're going to go play. And they're all there at the same time. I get that. But if you're a quarterback who, you go in as a true freshman and there's like a senior and then like a redshirt sophomore in front of you, but you may be able to beat out the redshirt sophomore in another couple years, like just ride it out, man. If you're Miller Moss and you're thinking like, okay, next year's going to be my time, and then Caleb Williams comes in, ride it out. Like
he'll be gone too. Yeah, he'll go number 1.
Your time. Yeah, you've got,
This is apropos of nothing other than the fact that USC always looks like, and these Oklahoma teams are the same way. USC looks like they just have the fastest people on the planet every year. It's awesome. And I think it might be the uniforms, but also on the relation to the uniforms. And I tweeted this, the big logo on the USC uniforms, atrocious. Hate it. Go away. I don't like that.
This has been Fashion Talk.
I don't know. It made me feel weird, and I don't like it.
Joan Rivers and Isaac Mizrahi will be back here next week. But sitting in, Roy Ogletree, who's wearing a hoodie and a backwards cap, just told you what his fashion advice is.
For Big Ten uniforms, yeah. This is the equivalent of having a Big Ten patch on a Pac-12 team.
Yeah.
Stinks.
Royden, thank you so much. We do have to end early.